signs of a coolant leak. From the flange, you can see the dried coolant right there. Let me zoom in. And it drips on the transmission. So this one's getting a flange. It's not focusing. 10-year-old engine, and you can see the cylinder head nice and shiny still inside. That indicates good, clean cooling system. Coolant that's not corrosive, no excessive water, otherwise there'd be rust. So keep those cooling systems healthy. Flush the system every 4 years. That's the first and only Tiguan that I've seen. It's front-wheel drive, but it's standard transmission. All Tiguans that I've seen are automatics. Oh, and excuse my pronunciation of Tiguan. All the commercials that I hear, it's Tiguan. So Terry at the txsviking TIG welding, he's TIG welding. It's not TIG welding, it's TIG welding. 2009 Tiguan electric water pump is running. Engine's been off for over 5 minutes. It's normal that the coolant pump runs as well as the radiator fans after you shut the vehicle off, and after 5 minutes has passed, or even 10 minutes, it all depends. It just basically recirculates coolant through the engine, through the radiator. That's why the fans are on, and it helps. Oh, they just shut off. They might come on again once the temperature sensor gets warm again. It may come on again, but right now electric pump is off, radiator fans are off. So for those of you guys who are wondering about if there's something wrong with your fans running when you shut off the car, no, the fans can be off, and then as you walk away they can come on because of the electric pump, because of the temperature sensors. So keep that in mind. You ever stick your hand on the radiator to feel temperature, and while you're moving your finger around you feel a lump, and that's when you realize that you're massaging the back of the ass of a bug? When your serpentine belt tensioner starts to show signs of rust, it usually means that there's some kind of wear going on internally. It's spring loaded, so it just, I don't know how much grease. I've never taken one of these apart. I'm not sure if the spring is even greased, but anyways, the point being that when there's rust like this, it migrates to a bunch of other places, and it can make life difficult. Well, not difficult, but it can mask other things. So what I like to do is catch it in the early stage, replace the tensioner, clean off the rust here with brake clean, spray it all off. That way in the future, you know, because this could even look like that the mount bolt, the bolt that secures this bracket is loose. I've mentioned before in other videos, signs of rust around a bolt or any type of hardware means that there's movement, free play, not tight, whatever. So whenever you see rust in a certain area, look for something that's worn, look for excessive movement, something that's loose, not tight, and that's it. And the reason I'm replacing this tensioner, just in case, this is my nephew's Golf. It's getting a little bit of a TLC converter, pendulum mount, and the tensioner here. I did the head gasket on it in February of this year because one of the valves was burnt, so it got a valve grind as well, and he's got a nice little Golf to drive. I hate it when the rubber breaks. Okay, customer complains about current draw, vehicle having a dead battery the next morning. Go ahead. So definitely something clicking. And it looks like AC clutch is clicking, so staying on, even though the key is off, engine's off. Something funky going on there. So customer complains about hard starting, was at a different shop, 2 fuel pumps he supposedly put in.
Yep, and that fuel pump is new, we can see it from there.
Okay.
And let me know what is, that's the intake. Okay, so we will see, we'll watch what is the gear clamp is, huh?
Oh geez, okay. And so that pressure bleeds off right away. Greasy, oily looking. Cleaning this one might actually help. At least the air filter is nice and clean. Damn, that's bad. I wiggle the wheel. Yeah, okay, I can see it. Yeah, but I've never seen a tire like that before. Holy crap. And this one's doing the same thing. So when tightening the timing belt, you can use a 2-pin tool, factory tool. You hook it into the tensioner, then you rotate it counterclockwise until the pointer lines up. That's the pointer, and the V is where it's supposed to point at. And then you tighten the belt. If you don't have this tensioner tool, is it in focus? Can't tell. If you don't have that, you can just make a little hook with a very stiff piece of wire. Just hook it into one of the holes, and then you just pull. It doesn't need a lot of pressure. While you're pulling, or while I'm pulling, I use a mirror to have a look at the pointer. Let me just find it real quick. There it is. And then once the pointer is lined up, you tighten the nut, and then you can release the tool. 2011 Mazda 3 power mirror operation. Look at how fast this sucker is moving. That's a real turn on. I could play with that all day. Damn, that's nice. Ever since you guys replaced my speed sensor, I've got a coolant leak. Short story long, I'm replacing this sensor right here. That's a G68 speed sensor, so that the transmission knows how fast the vehicle is moving. This sensor cuts out, so it doesn't know how fast the vehicle is going, and then it has a shifting issue. It starts off in the higher gear, and you don't feel the 1-2 shift because it's already in second or in third. And then once you hit 4,000 RPM and let go of the gas pedal, that's when it shifts up into fourth. So anyways, that's this sensor. I've got another video about it, how to remove it. You obviously have to remove this transmission mount and bracket to gain access to it. But as you can see, there's dried coolant here, and it's all coming from this coolant flange dripping down into there, and then it fills up this area here. Whether or not that's contributing to the failure of these sensors, possibly, but I've seen them fail without coolant leaks. You can see there's coolant there, and the other fun stuff is the smell of a rat shit. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to fix this, and they're going to notice a difference, and then they're going to say, ever since I've got a coolant leak. But we're going to mention the coolant leak beforehand, obviously. So anyways, that's it. No, you can't.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Fucker.
It's a new wire.
I don't know, I just got shot.
Yeah.
Fucker. New wire set, but I just got shocked, and if you look at it closely, there's a piece of metal in the wire, and that's causing it to arc. from this to this. It's not as pretty as on Pauly's channel, Pauly's Auto, but it's frees up my drawer down here. Thanks for the tip. Hey, there's the bucket. I made one more modification. I drilled a second hole. I drilled a hole right through the box. A lot of guys wouldn't do that, obviously, to their snap-on box, but the thing is 10 years old, why not? So the bucket is more stable now. I initially only had it supported here, and when I went to pull rags, then this whole bucket would tilt. It would basically just move forward and back. This way it just wobbles a little bit, but it's basically secure. I can pull rags out and not have any issues. And it's an easy load, just throw them in the top. Awesome tip by Pauly's Auto. Link is in the description. I use a walnut blaster to clean out the carbon. This one's almost clean. I'll give you a before sample. These are not really that bad. I've seen a lot worse, but it's good to get a regular maintenance done in terms of cleaning them. So there's my setup, shop vac, big hose, and then the walnuts get blasted through this tube, come out here, go in here. So if this is the nozzle, I just basically move the nozzle around. At the same time, vacuum is sucking out the dirt, the carbon, and the walnuts, the shells. If you guys are not familiar with what that stuff is, that's all it is. If any little bit gets left behind, that stuff burns no problem. No need to worry about it. Different media, some different media is available. You obviously don't want to use glass beads. The dealer, I think they use some kind of a soda, not baking soda, maybe even baking soda, I don't know, some kind of soda material. It's really fine white powder. I like the walnut shells. If you have a 4-cylinder Volkswagen engine and you suspect a bad water pump, take out the thermostat and have a look in there, and you can then feel whether or not the impeller is loose. In this case, the impeller is broken. I'm not sure if you could see that. I'll have to zoom in later digitally, or you'll see the pump obviously when I take it out in pieces. Well, there you go. Apprentice's diagnosis was correct. Broken water pump. It's supposed to sit up here. That's not good. Water pump is leaking, as well as head studs. That's a head nut right there. You can see the trail of fluid dripping on the cylinder head here, dripping on the cylinder head here. I can't get up in there with my phone, but you can see that's all rusty coolant. It was here for a coolant flush back in October, November, and it was really rusty. We told him it may need a couple of flushes, and basically now he's experiencing coolant leaks. That's because the rusty coolant is thinner now because it's more fresh coolant, or it's cleaner, but obviously there's so much rust in the system, it'll take a few more times possibly to fully flush it. And at this point as well now, with new leaks developing, you gotta deal with those as well. And you gotta make your customer aware. See, this is the leak from the old water pump. Got a new one in there. So yeah, you got to make your customers aware that you know, a coolant flush, just like a transmission fluid flush. You flush the transmission, then all of a sudden you have shifting problems. Same thing with the cooling system, only when it's in really bad condition, obviously. If you maintain your cooling system, a flush is not going to cause any adverse effects. And by adverse, I mean it's only because it was bad to begin with. It's always cheaper to change the belt sooner than it is later. It's missing a whole bunch of teeth. A 2-liter cylinder head. Pretty much all the exhausts are bent, had no compression on any of them, so it definitely is interference fit engine. In rare cases, very lucky that nothing happens, but that's the one with the timing belt that was broken. Keep those timing belts in check.